Yeah, Maria Taylor and Rachel Nichols. What are your thoughts on the whole Rachel Nichols Maria Taylor thing? You're a guy that's in the industry. You know how these things work. What
Yeah.
when obviously you first find out what happened or the video leaked or whatever, of course everything starts to burst and break and the news starts to get out there. What are your thoughts about everything when this whole thing came to light?
So I read about this before I actually heard the video. So my feelings kind of changed a little bit when I heard the video, if that makes any sense. Not too much. I mean, I generally have had the same opinion. My first opinion was when I was reading it, I was like, well, I can understand why Rachel as a woman, like, or someone in general, like, is kind of scared for their job. You know what I mean? Then I started reading the comments about, what's the guy's name? She was on the phone call with, forgot his name. Jesus Christ, I forgot his name.
Oh,
but
man.
the guy she was on the phone. The guy she was on the phone call with mentioned, that he was tired of the Black Lives Matter movement and Me Too and things of that nature. And I read that she left. So in my head, the laugh was like a nervous, like, I'm only laughing because you're a man of power. And I feel like I have to laugh. And then she said something about Maria Taylor, which to me is the typical, like, performative ally, in front of everybody's face. But now that there's cameras off, like, I can be comfortable and say what I will say. When I heard the audio, though, bro, it went from her being like a quasi ally to like, oh, she didn't even support the shit. Like she's not even like for any of this, because that laugh was a Joker laugh.
She's like that white woman. She's like that white woman that called the cops on the dude that was walking a dog or whatever. Like, you remember that story?
Yeah, because after reading it, I had like one perception was like, I could understand. I think whether Maria was black, white, whatever, I can understand Rachel Nichols being like, yo, this was my job. Like, and I could understand, I this may be unpopular, but I can understand where someone's head goes, damn, like, are they just hiring her? Like, I get that. Like, I'm not going to lie. I get that because, like, that there's a push for diversity. You've had this job for a long time. And to me, Maria's fantastic at her job. She's 1000% fantastic. I'm not saying
they're both good. That's the sad part. They're both really good at their jobs.
But
that's kind of
understand
the sad irony.
Yeah. I can give grace to someone where it's just like, okay, I get why you can originally think that and you have to work through it in your head. But after hearing the audio, I was like, oh, no, you don't get that anymore, because you sound like somebody who doesn't understand this issue, and not only doesn't understand this issue, doesn't really agree with this issue or think that's an issue. And this is not about just you losing your job. This is a little bit more than that. And it was just kind of disappointing to hear. Not that I've ever, to be honest with you, I was never a fan of Rachel Nichols. I always felt like she was kind of condescending, or like she was reading me a lullaby every time she was talking, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, it's just she's just not my style. I'm not saying she's not good at her job. She's just not my style of thinker. But yeah, man, the audio changed everything for me. And I do think that there's a lot of nuance in situations, and there's a lot of different ways you can take the way people say things, and things can be taken out of context in 2 or 3 minutes, and I understand that. But to me, after the way she laughed and then she used that as an in to complain about Maria Taylor and diversity, it was just like just using inductive reasoning. It's just like, oh, okay, like you're not an ally. Like, you're not even a performative ally. You're just not an ally at all whatsoever. So it's just unfortunate, man. And I just think it comes, it brings about what you talk about this a lot, those who are like the Hillary Clinton voter, right? Who will vote for Hillary, go to the booth. But, when it comes down to it, when the feet to the fire, they're going to, turn their backs on their Black Lives Matter movement and black women and black men. And that's just the way it is. And, yeah, so that's a perfect example of that. That's what I think of when we were going to have this conversation. I kind of feel like I knew what you were going to go with
this. No, I totally agree with everything Rachel Nichols said, and I free Rachel Nichols. No. First of all, this story upsets me for so many reasons. First and foremost, I like you, I read the transcript of what she said before I watched the video, and I was already pissed off reading it. And then, of course, you watch the video, and it's just as moronic and ignorant as she sounds. And let me put this out there. People can say racially insensitive things. People can say stupid things and not be racist. I don't think Rachel Nichols is a racist.
I don't think she is either. Yeah.
Maybe she is. Maybe she's not. But I don't think so. Did she say something racially insensitive? Yes. First of all, this idea. Let me just debunk this now. Like, this idea that companies all over the world for years have been lining up to just give Black people opportunities left and right because it's just cool and the good thing to do, is such a myth and it's so far-fetched. This idea that like diversity hires became a thing like what, 6 months ago? For the last the last 100 years.
Since like George Floyd, but you are some people like, well, what about affirmative action? And that's a whole
and that's where I was going to, right? Because this idea that like every Black person in a successful position is somehow a diversity hire or an affirmative action hire, and not like, oh, this person's actually good at their job, is so it's not only disrespectful and demeaning to that person and to the race or the culture of people, but it's just factually incorrect. Like these things don't happen. It's a myth. It's a fallacy. Like Black people haven't just been getting jobs just because it's a diversity thing. No, absolutely not. If anything, I would argue that Black people, more and more Black people should have more opportunities, but they don't because of their Blackness, because they are Black. But that's a conversation for a whole nother day.
Well, yeah,
like the Rachel Nichols thing. Look, I'm with you. We've all been in situations where someone gets a promotion or someone gets something that you want in the workplace. And of course, you're upset, you're angry, you're mad, you have a gamut of emotions. Obviously, we've all been there. We've all wanted a job, or we've all had a job and somebody comes in, takes your job or takes the promotion you wanted. And you feel like, yo, that's fucked up. I'm better than this person. Whoever, man, woman, whatever. We've all been there. But to basically demean the other person and basically act like she has no talent, or worse yet, only act like she's in the position because she's a diversity hire, it is so insulting and disrespectful that it doesn't, you shouldn't even warrant it with a response, right? Like you shouldn't even warrant it without. And here's the thing, you don't even have to like Maria Taylor. Like there's people, like broadcasting is like anything, right? People have their own flavors and niche and styles that they like. Some people like some certain things. Some people like other things. Some people like certain broadcasters. Some people don't like certain broadcasters. I like Tony Romo. There's a significant amount of fans that don't like Tony Romo. There's fans that don't like Chris Collinsworth. Me. There's fans that love Chris Collinsworth. I'm just using NFL announcers for some reason, but follow me. Like there's NBA announcers that people love, and there's NBA announcers that I don't like. I'm sure there's people that loved Chris Webber, although I seriously have to check your mental well-being and
show yourself. Show yourself if you're a Chris Webber fan, please. Please leave. Get out.
But I'm sure that there is people out there that love Chris Webber, right? And the majority of people hated Chris Webber. Yeah, his parents, yes. His girlfriend or his wife or whoever, they loved him. His family. But the point is, like, there's people, I'm sure that there's people that love certain announcers and other people that don't. It's okay. But to sit there and say like, oh, someone doesn't deserve the job, or someone doesn't, hasn't earned this position, it's just so offensive. And and what's more offensive about it is that this isn't some like Clay Travis figure, right? This isn't some person that paints themselves as being this like conservative or voice for conservative sports. Like, no, this is a person that is quote unquote an ally. If you listen to Twitter, she's basically having a romantic relationship with Jimmy Butler, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole for another day.
We should do an episode on conspiracy theories. That'd be fun.
NBA conspiracy theories. We'll be here all night on that one. David Stern screwed the Knicks in '97. A bunch of them, but a bunch of them, right? But no, it's like this person that painted herself as being an ally, and this person that this white person that spoke truth to power and was trying to present a voice to Black Lives Matter on the air and all these other things. And it's like, no, you're just another white person that performs this shit for convenience and whatever. And then when the cameras are off, you don't believe anything that you're saying. You don't believe anything that's being out there. So yeah, she's fake and it's phony. But the thing that really upsets me the most about this whole thing, like the thing that really takes the cake, I don't know if you knew this, but do you know that Rachel Nichols' mother-in-law is Diane Sawyer?
Yeah, I didn't know this. Yeah,
like yeah. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that Diane Sawyer created Rachel Nichols' career. I'm not saying that Diane Sawyer got Rachel Nichols the job at ESPN or CNN or wherever, right? I'm not saying that. Rachel Nichols is a talented person. She's not for everybody. I will admit, Rachel Nichols, before tonight or before this week, I've never had a bad thing to say about Rachel Nichols. I thought she was fine in her role, right? So I'm not saying that Rachel Nichols didn't work hard, fought tooth and nail to get every little scrap of success that she has, right? But you can't tell me that you have Diane Sawyer's number in your call log and tell me that doesn't help.
On your resume as a reference.
As a resume on your reference, you have Diane Sawyer. Diane Sawyer.
Yeah.
This isn't some chick that's, doing the evening news in Tacoma. Like, this is Diane fucking Sawyer. Probably one of the most recognizable news reporters in the last 50 to 100 years, right?
Ever.
She's your mother-in-law. Like, you're not going to convince me that she didn't play a role in getting you at least in the door.
Yeah.
Getting you an interview, getting you looked at. So nepotism is at play here. So someone that potentially could have benefited from nepotism is getting on somebody else for being a quote unquote diversity hire. I mean, come on, man. This shit. I mean, the level of gall that takes, and that just speaks to privilege, and that just speaks to privilege, right? Doesn't it? Because it's like the fact that you don't even see where you're wrong on so many levels. It's the ultimate sign of white privilege.
Also, like, Maria's dope. Like, it's not like ESPN is like hiring someone who like is off the street and it's like, oh, random black lady, go join the fight. No, that's not what's happening. Maria's paid her dues. Like, ESPN has leaked after this whole thing happened that Maria won $3 million from ESPN, and the reason why they leaked that is because make her look bad. Don't make no mistake about that. ESPN has been leaking a lot of things about Maria Taylor ever since this incident happened to make Rachel look a little better, which I actually find a little alarming as well. But yeah, like, there's a reason why she's commanding that money, because she's really good at her job. I prefer, and this is preference, obviously this is subjective, but I prefer Maria over Rachel, and that has nothing to do with her color of her skin.
And I do too.
Yeah.
And I do too. And look,
I like her. Yeah.
And somebody may listen to this and say, well, I like Rachel Nichols. And that's fine if you like Rachel Nichols.
That is
if you don't like Maria Taylor and you like Carrie Champion, or you like, Becky Sue in Iowa, I don't care. It's not about who you like. Everybody that you like is who you like. That's fine. You don't have to explain it to me or whatever. Like, that's fine. It's not about that. It's about the fact that this person got a position and she deserved it. And that now the company, ESPN, is trying to bag on her. Rachel Nichols, who I'm sure till about a week ago thought that she was an ally, is trying to bag on her. Like, it's just so disgusting to see on all parts, right? It's on all parts. And that's the thing with ESPN. It's like, if you don't want to pay her the $3 million, if you don't think that she's worth it because you're ESPN and you're bleeding money, that's fine. Yeah. Just don't pay her, but don't make the girl look bad. You know what I'm saying? Out the door potentially, and like try to like sabotage her career, make her out to be like this diva because God forbid she wants to be paid what she's worth. And I'm Maria Taylor. I'm like, why not? You know what I mean? If you're paying Skip Bayless, I know it's a different company, but if Skip Bayless is getting $8 million and Stephen A is getting $8 million, if I'm Maria Taylor, I'm like, well, hold on. Why can't I get 3? Why can't I get 4? Right. I'm not only doing basketball, but I'm also doing college football. Your second biggest property, third biggest property, depending on if you want to look at the NFL.
Definitely second.
But college football is their biggest property at ESPN, because they don't really have an NFL package besides Monday.
Yeah, Monday night's not what it used to be.
No. Yeah. College football is their second biggest property. And she's one of the lead voices of that. So if I'm Maria Taylor, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna give me my bag. Like, not only am I a voice on basketball, but I'm a voice on college football. You know what I mean? Like, I'm hosting all these studio shows. Like, yeah, why not? Especially when you set the precedent. You've paid all these other people millions of dollars in the past to do nothing. Like, why can't I get my bag? You know what I'm saying? And if you don't want to pay her, then don't pay her. But don't sabotage the girl's career. And then it's like again, it's ESPN. The woke by convenience, oh, Black Lives Matter and all this other shit. And it's like, no, you're trying to tear down a black woman here. That's trying to do the capitalistic thing.
Color. Our logo was going to be rainbow colored this month.
Exactly.
Oh,
and again, that just speaks to what I've always, one of my core issues that I talk about constantly. You alluded to it. It's like, be careful of these allies, man. Be careful of these people that scream to the tops of their mountaintops, Black Lives Matter and equality, and hey, I support all these movements, because a lot of people are phony, man. And when it comes down to it, if you're not willing to put your skin in the game, if you're not willing to really, 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 really fight for equality and equity, then you're just talking. You're just talking out of your ass, and you're not really being real, and you're not helping the cause. You're contributing to it. And those are the worst kind of people. I respect Clay Travis because at the end of the day, he is what he is. He doesn't lie what he doesn't lie what he's about, or what's his face, fat fuck.
Jason Whitlock.
Whitlock, yeah, I call him fat fuck. Jason Whitlock, like at least he's honest about what he believes in and what he comes from. I can't stand him, and I can't agree with anything that he says, but at least he's honest about where he stands. The people at Rachel Nichols are the ones that drive me insane. They're typical liberals. They're typical Ivy League, coastal liberals that people bag on. It's like these people that are like, oh yeah, we support equality, we support gay rights, we support all these things, until it happens in my backyard, and then it's like, I don't want anything to do with it. And
they're the reason why a lot of conservatives think that what we advocate for is very performative. Like a lot of times, like when the Chauncey Billups situation was going on, a lot of people are like, "Oh, are you really do you really care about women? Or are you just being performative?" Like, and a lot of people who don't advocate for the same positions we do think that it's all performative because the people like Rachel Nichols. And like I said, I could understand like the gut reaction of like, wait a second, like why is she getting the job? And I think it's very natural for someone who's, and I don't think Rachel Nichols is racist, and you said the same thing. I don't think Rachel Nichols is, but I think it's very natural for someone who's having their job taken to go, okay, why is this happening? Is it because she's better than me? Is it because it is a diversity hire? But the problem is she doesn't take the next step and be like, it's not. Like that's not what it is. And going back to the conversation early, like beforehand with the whole, his name's Adam Mendelsohn, talking about being exhausted with the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter. Her reaction there pretty much told me that like, oh, like you don't even, like you're not with it. So you combine both of those things, her lack of nuance in her thought process. And again, this might be a little unfair because it's a 2-minute, 3-minute conversation. It just felt like everything that people thought of her as an ally just really wasn't true. And I understand, like, again, I'll say this again. I do think it's, we should be honest with ourselves and say, hey, listen, if your job is being taken away, you start reaching for things because it hurts your ego. A lot of it is ego as well. It's like, wait a second, I'm the best person for this job. How could ESPN not think I'm the best person for this job? So instead of looking inward at yourself or just giving props to the other person, you start coming up with reasons. And I think that's just the reason she came up with or she thought of and just kind of settled on that because Black Lives Matter movement was going on during the bubble and everybody seemed to be coming around to it. And that's what she just kind of settled on. And I don't think it's her being racist. I just kind of think it's one of those things where it's like you're an ally up until it's inconvenient for you to be an ally. And that's the real test of allyship. It's like no one's saying that if you're a white woman, you have to give up your job to a black lady. That's not anyone saying. You know what I'm saying? If you're a white man, you have to give your job to a black man. No one's saying that. But at the end of the day, like, be honest with yourself, like be inclusive with diversity, be inclusive with the people who are hired, understand why people are being hired, give people a fair chance, recognize nepotism when you're being helped, recognize your privilege, recognize the advantages that you have. It's just she comes across very tone deaf. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Not racist, she's just very, very tone deaf. And a lot of allies seem to be tone deaf and they think all you have to do is post a black square on Instagram and you're good.
Right. Yeah, that's the part that pisses me off. And like I said, she may not be racist. She may be racist. Who the fuck knows? I don't know Rachel Nichols from a hole in the wall. I'm just saying, doesn't necessarily mean that because you say something racially insensitive, you are racist. It just means you're ignorant. It just means you're ignorant. It just means you have a lack of awareness and you're tone deaf, highly tone deaf. But it doesn't mean you're racist. Now that being said, her using diversity hire and just kind of throwing that term out there and just the tenor of that conversation that she had with this clown Adam, whatever his face is, Mendelsohn. She's someone that has these strong feelings, and it's not like this was just like an emotional thing where it's like she just said it in the moment and whatever. Like no,
his work opened up the gates. His work opened up the gates for it. Yeah. Exactly. It wasn't a nervous laugh. I could understand a woman like being like, ha, because there's a man of power and like you kind of have to go along. That was not that type of laugh. It wasn't. No. And I can understand like in the moment of anger, we all say fucked up shit when we're angry. I've said terrible things when I'm angry. Like I get it. It's a product of emotion and human, and it's an element of human emotion, right? But that being said, that wasn't even like a human emotional moment where it's like I was angry and I said the wrong thing. No, you really believe this shit. And then her apology was I think her apology was even worse because you honestly just felt like she really didn't apologize. She didn't say anything. She wasn't sorry about anything
that was said. She was just sorry that it got out, and then how it was perceived by the rest of the media that she was basically sandbagging her coworker, who is also another woman, by the way. You know, all that unite women and all that other stuff. You know, that goes out the window. So there's allyship even in that. There's allyship in between Black women, and I'm sure that over the course
of like even the victimhood of like, oh, ESPN's pitting two women against each other, like even that, like that's where she takes it, like the victimhood of like, oh, they're doing this to two women.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Right. It's yeah. And the fact that this is the biggest news or one of the biggest news stories or sports news stories in the news cycle this past week is just, it's terrible. And it has completely undercut the finals to an extent, right? Because it's like, this is a huge story because of course you have the element of race, you have the element of two women, obviously the big ass company that is ESPN, multi-billion-dollar entity, so it is gonna be a story that gains a lot of traction, and I think it's a story that's kind of opened up a lot of conversation about just a lot of different things in general about allyship, and just be careful about because I'm sure over the course of the year, Rachel Nichols was invited to the cookout. Right. Oh yeah, she's invited to the cookout. And again, it's like, be careful who you're quote unquote inviting to this, fictional cookout of ours. Like, be careful who you're pinning your hopes on as far as allyship, man. These people aren't real. These people aren't our allies. These people aren't friends unless they show you, unless they prove to you that they are about that they are about that action, that they're about the lives that they so-called live and portray themselves as being.
Yeah.
And that doesn't and also and I'll end with this. That doesn't mean that Rachel Nichols should just give up her job to a Black woman. Like, yeah, Rachel Nichols should be upset that you got replaced. But because I'm sure somebody's going to listen to, oh, well, should she just give up her job to anybody, or should she just give up the job to any Black? No, we're not saying that. And I know you said that. We're not saying that. All we're saying is that you can be upset, you can be angry, you can be hurt, you can be mad as hell. But when you go to the diversity hire, when you go to something racially insensitive, you lose the argument. It doesn't matter if you have a point. And to some people, maybe even to me, she may have a point. But when you go down that road, you've automatically lost.
Yeah.
You've automatically lost. So that's what it is with Rachel Nichols.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's just that I guess I don't know what, like that instinct to kind of look for excuses because it hurt your ego type of thing.
Right.
That's an also, I think ego has a little bit to do with it. It's not just race. It's a lot of different factors that go along with it. But
you're in the industry. You're in the industry, so these people have egos. You know better than anybody that these people.
Oh yeah, and my ego has been hurt a few times. Like, and here's another thing where it's just kind of like I've been up for hosting jobs, right, where I know that I didn't get hired because I wasn't a specific demographic, but at the same time, it's like, you can go like, okay, well, sometimes that's what the company's going for right now. Maybe they're going for that demographic because that demographic matches their target audience. There's a lot of other things that go with it. Maybe let's just say on the off chance they did want to hire Maria because she's Black. Well, why do they want to hire Maria because she's Black? Well, maybe because it's a Black-led sport. You have a Black demographic watching. You have a mostly Black panel. Like, there are different reasons for things. Like that has something to do with casting as well.
Here's another one. Here's another brilliant idea. How many excellent Black talented people have been passed up for white counterparts?
Right.
We can't get one. We can't get one. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, this automatically upsets the world that Maria Taylor made. And I'm not saying this happened, but what if she did, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I can give you countless, thousands maybe, of white people, men and women, that have taken the jobs of talented black anchors, reporters, co-hosts, etc.
And for all Rachel knows, she probably took one because Diane Sawyer gave her a reference.
And that's the part that really galls me. That's the part that really galls me, man. It's like the fact that you have the audacity to sit here and use an excuse like diversity hire when you literally are benefiting from nepotism. And don't tell. And again, I don't know this for a fact. Neither you or I know this for a fact. But you can't tell me you have Diane Sawyer in the bullpen and you haven't used it a couple times. Like, come on, son. Like, come
stop it. I mean, but it's also less than an allyship. And I also think, like, this is new for a lot of people. I think this is a learning lesson for not just the Black community, but the white community, where it's like, hey, sometimes you might have to check yourself a little bit to make sure that you're really an ally. Because I bet you if you would ask Rachel Nichols maybe a month ago or a year ago, because this happened a year ago, if she was an ally, she might have said yes. And she still to this day might think she's an ally. But there are certain ways that you have to go about your allyship, and there's certain things you have to check, like your privilege and your nepotism and your place in society. And it could be a lesson to, white people or people who were passing white, were just like, allyship is not just saying Black Lives Matter. Allyship is not just posting a black square on Instagram, but it's also recognizing the plight of the black man, the plight of the black woman, what they had to do to get their opportunities. And even if it might affect you, taking a step back and saying, okay, you know what? This is happening for these reasons. It has nothing to do with me personally, but maybe this person is more qualified and they're finally getting an opportunity. And even though I'm losing out on an opportunity, it has nothing to do with a diversity hire. It has everything to do with black women and black men finally being respected for the work that they're doing. And, at the end of the day, you could always, again, fall back on Diane Sawyer and get another opportunity in about 60 seconds.
The idea, exactly, that's key as well. The idea that somehow Rachel Nichols is being replaced and taken out the pasture to get shot and she'll never be seen on TV again. It's a bunch of, it's a fallacy. Like, Rachel Nichols is going to get a job in 5 minutes. Fox Sports will be all over her. CBS Sports. I mean, whatever. She'll find a job. This idea that and if the shoe was on the other foot, Maria Taylor, if she eventually, or if it happens,
she'll be fine.
She'll be fine. She'll get a job at Fox Sports and anchor their college football program, which I actually like better than ESPN's, but that's a whole other story for another day. Like, she'll be fine. Like, both these women will be fine. Like, you're right, man. The allyship, it calls into question a lot about the allyship. You know what this is like? This is like the person that says, oh yeah, I believe in gay rights. Gay people should have, gays and lesbians should have rights to marry whoever and have the rights as any common man. I'm like, well, would you mind if your son or daughter was gay? Hell no. Would you want would you want your daughter to be a lesbian, or you want your daughter like, oh no, hell no. It's like, no, then you're not really an ally. It's like, you can't sit there and say, oh yeah, I believe in gay rights, and but not in my backyard. Then
when it touches home, And again, just read it for the third time.
You're just as bad as the bigot or the homophobe or whoever. You're just nicer about it. You're quieter.
Right. And to read it for the third time, we're not saying that Rachel Nichols should not be mad or worried or questioning why she was being replaced. I think anybody who's losing a job or anybody who's being replaced it's a natural thing to think. That's not what we're saying. All we're saying is that the straight path of, must have been a diversity hire because there's no way Maria Taylor could have gotten this. To me, that's a little troubling. And to me, it might not have even been racial. It could have been a complete ego thing up until I heard her laugh at what Adam Middleton said. And I was like, oh, okay. And now I'm connecting that.
And let's all pray for Adam, whatever his face is again, whatever his last name is. Adam Mendelberg or Mendelberg, whatever. Like, let's all pray for him because he's so over Black Lives Matter and equality and equity into the African American community. He's over that, because black men getting shot in the street, unjustly by police officers and constantly being held down by the U.S. justice system. Poor guy. Poor guy. So let's pray for him, and the countless other black women and black mothers that have had to bury their black children, and black wives that have had to bury their husbands, and the black children that have been left without fathers because the police officer felt threatened by a certain guy, or thought that George Floyd was a threat to society because he had a counterfeit $20 bill and maybe may have had drugs in his system. But Adam Mendelsohn. But the key story is Adam Mendelsohn is over everything. So that's what happens. Fucking guy. It just pisses me off, man. And again, it just drives me insane. But it's everything that I talk about, man. It's everything that I talk about, man.
I thought of you immediately. This is the exact scenario. You talk about this all the time, man. It's the Hillary Clinton. The Hillary Clinton voter.
It's the Hillary. It's exactly who it is. The Hillary Clinton voter.
It's the Upper West Side. It's the Upper West Side middle-aged woman.
It's the Greenwich, Connecticut. It's the Greenwich, Connecticut liberal that pumps their chest out. This is our fight song.
Oh,
Hillary Clinton, yay! And it's
that just triggered the hell out of me. That triggered the hell out of me.
Nah, man. It's just so irritating, man, because it's like these people do really exist. These are the back to brunch liberals that we talk about. And it's like, these are the people. These are this is who the Democratic Party craves. They crave these folks.
Manny, I'll be honest with you, this is their base. This is their base. That's the Democratic base. This is what you and I are trying to change. You and I are trying to change the fact that Democratic base is filled with a lot of these people.
This is their base now. This is their base now. Yeah. This is their base
right. Now. But we're trying to change that. We're doing our best.